On how to make yourself invisible in your photograph. What you're going to do is first you're going to have two identical pictures. So you are going to make sure that you have your layers menu showing. Here it is. And I have one photograph of the scene on a tripod where it is without the figure and one scene that is with the figure. And this will serve as your background when you erase the figure that's on the top. Now, the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to select with the shift click, I'm going to select both layers here. I'm going to say edit. I'm going to say auto align layers. In doing this, I'm going to make sure that both pictures are lined up as closely as possible. So say OK. It takes just a second. And then it's going to make sure. There we go. So there's before and there's after. Really not much of a change because I use the tripod, but again, you just want to make absolutely sure. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to layer mask out myself. So I'm just going to hit the, I make sure I'm only on one layer at a time. There we go. I'm going to hit the layer mask button. And I am going to get my paintbrush. I'm going to use black. So I can use this for default black and white. I can flip to black here. I can go up here. I can check out the hardness. So this is the soft edge. This is the hard edge of the brush. I'm going to use a relatively hard edge on my brush. Here's your brush size. Remember, you can also change your brush size by using the parentheses on your keyboard. And then here's the opacity, so how dark, how quickly it erases, how dark the paint is. And then this is the flow, which is how quickly that paint also comes out of the spray brush. So I'm going to zoom in with Command plus on my keyboard, hold down the Shift bar, and then drag this over. And let's just start doing the arms here. So I have my brush here. I'm just going to paint. So there you go. So all I'm doing here with my layer mask is I'm painting black, and I'm essentially just covering up this top layer. Now, in reality, if my arm was invisible or my hand was invisible, I would be able to see this book through my hand if I erased it, but I can't. Here as well, where my arm is crossing over my shirt, let's erase this down here. If I was truly invisible, you would just see whatever was behind my arm in here. But the problem is that this is Photoshop and it's a two-dimensional surface, right? So when I'm erasing it, I'm just seeing what is behind that first photograph, which is just the background. So I'm going to need to, and I will in just a few minutes, I'm going to need to take care of that so that it doesn't look so strange. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to clean this up really quick. You, of course, are going to do a much better job, much slower. Take your time. You can use some of your selection tools and things like that. Here, I'm just going to hit this really quick. Get rid of my finger here. Take care of that. Take my thumb out of here. And again, you can see that it's just showing the background, which is not that great for something when you're holding this. Okay, there we go. Make this a little bigger. Paint this out. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to paint this out. Just like so. All right, again, space bar, drag it down. Now, in here, I could do a couple of things. One is I could decide that I just wanted to erase, I just wanted to erase my whole head here and just make me invisible. But I think I would like to keep my hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint around my hair here. And again, you're going to do a little slower, a little more carefully. And I'm also going to keep my beard like so. Let's make this a little smaller. Paint here. All right, like so. I'm actually even going to keep my glasses too. So it's up to you as you're painting. I mean, you know, I say all the time, there is no right or wrong answer to this. It's just whatever balances out aesthetically, you know, creatively, what you think you want to do. It's totally up to you. Obviously, you know, spoiler alert, there's no such thing as true invisibility yet. So, at least not that we know of, that the government has told us about. So we're making up our own rules here. So I'm going to say in my rules here, I am going to say, oops, that this is okay. And that's all right, it's there as well because I can also use the white paint to bring that back. All right, let's take my lip out of here too. Okay, make my brush a little bigger. Get rid of that nose in there. Get rid of all this. Just like so. And again, I don't want to take too much time here. I just want to get this taken care of. All right, let's flip-flop my thing to white here. Let's bring back this little bit that I chopped off there. Flip-flop to black again. Make this smaller. Normally that glass part wouldn't be invisible, but All right, so you get the idea. So here's that part. Oh, here, let me get this neck down here. It's important. Bring this here, like so. Paint this out, just like so. And then let's paint this part in here, like this. All right, so now the problem with this is, as we addressed earlier, is that even though we're invisible, the problem is, like here, my stomach is missing, and here the collar of my shirt is missing. So what we're going to do is, oh, and also like up here, I might make this, sorry, before I get to the other part, I might feather this a little bit. So this is where I might bring down the softness of my brush, and I might bring down the opacity of this to like 18%, because my beard is fuzzy, right? And so I want that invisible to be, like I don't necessarily want a hard outline on my hair there. Let's turn up the opacity a little bit, it's a little bit low. There we go. Right, so the edge on my beard, maybe the edge on my hair down here. You know, it looks pretty good. This just sometimes looks a little artificial up here. There we go. So by softening that edge a little bit, I just have to be careful with my glasses there. So you get the idea. So I'm just softening that edge a little bit. All right, so now let's address this missing gap here. So this is a little bit tricky to sort of do it first, but it's not too bad. So I go to my layer that has my figure on it. Right now I'm going to click on my layer mask. I'm going to click on the image because I want to copy the image, not the layer mask. So I click on the image. I'm going to use my lasso, and all I'm going to do for this one is I am just going to select part of the shirt here, like so. And actually, I'm going to get a little closer because I don't want any of the background. I'm going to copy this gray color, like so. Perfect. I'm going to say Edit Copy, or key Command C, and I'm going to say Edit, and I'm going to say Paste, Command V, and so this is my little piece right up here. Then I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to, actually I'm just going to stretch it like so. I'm going to stretch it this way, like this. I'm going to stretch it this way, so I'm going to hit the check mark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it below this layer, and look at that, it starts to hide in that layer. So now if I go back to my layer mask on the top, use my paintbrush, oops, there's a little bit of, let me make this brush smaller, there's a little bit of this skin tone still in here. I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so all I'm doing is erasing a little bit more of this layer mask on the top. I'm going to go back to this layer. I am going to use I can use my eraser, my layer mask for this part. I'm going to make this a little bit like so. Okay, now I'm going to use my cloning stamp. And the fun thing about this is that, just make sure it's on the clone stamp. I hold down my Alt. I click once in the sample area and I start to paint. As I'm just going to build this area. Alt, click, paint, Option, click, paint. And I'm just painting this in so it looks like that it's Option, click. Let's make this a little lighter down here. Option, click, Option, click. All right, and again, this is where that artistry comes in. So there we go. I mean, I did that in a hurry, but that's pretty good making the stomach there, right? So you can do that with all sorts of parts that where your arm overlaps, or you can try to take a picture so that it doesn't overlap exactly. All right, now the next problem we're going to run into is the collar here. Now I could just copy a color in here or copy part of the shirt, but it's not going to look right. So I'm actually going to want to look for a collar of this particular shirt. All right, so I'm going to go back to Safari. Oops. And I'm going to search for, let's make a new window. I'm going to search for t-shirt. All right, I'm going to go to my images. Remember in tools, I can go to size and I can say larger than or exactly the size of. So depending on what size my original picture is, I want to make sure that I have a fairly large t-shirt size here. And then I'm going to look for a shirt that has a collar that I think that I can use. And I'm going to go back. Hang on. I'm going to use all because I have my example here. So any size. So here. So this one will work. it has this logo on it, but the direction of the shirt is in the right face, right? Because this way, if I use this shirt, the collar's not facing the right direction because I'm not facing forward in the picture. So I'm trying to find a collar. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I'm trying to find a collar that is facing the right direction. So I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to say copy image. I'm going to go back to my Photoshop. I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to say paste, and this is going to be pretty small, yeah, because it's just a little guy there. So here it is. Oh, I'm going to make sure that it's up here so I can see it. I am going to select, so there's another way you can do it first. I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to select all the white in the background. I'm going to say layer mask. Oops, I always do that. Select inverse. And I'm going to say layer mask, and it just got rid of all the background. I'm going to use my black paintbrush to clean up the rest of this. Turn up my opacity. It's going to take me all day. Make this a little bigger. Okay, I'm going to paint out that logo, not that it really matters. And I'm just going to keep the collar there. All right, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it big so that it fits. All right, where I want it to fit here. That's about the right size. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. And the angle on this is still not absolutely perfect, but I think it's, it's going to do. It'll be all right, especially just for our demo here. So let's bring it down, and I'm going to put it sort of in this area here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it below that picture again. So now it's behind your shirt this way. Let's rotate it even a little bit more. This thing is hiccuping so bad right now. There we go. Let's bring it over. So remember, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard too. Hit the check mark. And I'm good to go. I'm not satisfied if that's the best collar or not, but it'll do just for now. I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm going to, make sure I'm on the layer mask. There we go. That's an important tip. Just paint this out. And let's harden the edge of our brush again, because I'm doing some detail work. Clean up that edge here a little bit, like so. I'm going to go back to this layer mask with white. I'm going to paint underneath and bring that shirt back under here, just a little bit, like so. All right, so there's my collar. Now it's not the right color, obviously, so what I need to do is put a color on it. Now what I'm going to do, this is another little tricky part here, but see here where I have an isolated layer mask where it's black, and this is white, but then the rest of this is all white here. The problem is that the layer mask is only affecting what is black, so I could go in and hand paint everything else that's black. I just want to be aware of that particular thing here. I'm just not satisfied with that color. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit further here. Bring it over, bring it down. Maybe rotate it just a little bit more. I'm just not absolutely satisfied with that color. There we go. Let's bring it over. Come on, little computer. For whatever reason, you're deciding to lock up on me here. There we go. Oops. A little higher, a little lower. Huh. There we go. That looks better. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this folder collar. I am going to take this collar and I'm going to throw it inside that folder because I want everything to be affected by that folder because I want to change just this part here. But to do that, I need to put the layer mask on the folder and not on the image itself. So I'm going to say add mask to selection. I'm going to go up to collar and I'm going to say layer mask. I'm going to come down here and now I'm going to say delete layer mask. So now I have just the layer mask on the whole folder here. So now when I go down here and I say curves, where are you curves? Sorry, right there. Bring this over and I adjust my curves a little bit. I can start to darken my shirt so that it matches that. And again, I don't know if this is really perfect, or not, but I'm just sort of giving you an idea. I would probably choose a different shirt. That shirt looks awfully pixelated and doesn't look right. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint this back in with black because I want a little bit of that shirt back in here. So I just have to go sort of back and forth like so. And let's, oops. Make sure I'm on the layer mask. I'm on black. I got to be on the right layer and the right layer mask. There we go. See, it is a little bit confusing. Oops, I'm on black. I'm on white. So I'm going to bring this back. Oh, that's my neck in there. Yeah, so that's sort of the extent of my collars right there. All right. So again, here's the collar of my shirt. I might want to bring this down a little bit lower even and make this thing fit in here. You just have to sort of go with it. All right, here we are on layer 2 with our layer mask. And make that thing work. That's why I like rotating. You really have to find that right collar so that it fits in there. All right, it looks okay. All right, so in here, once I have this in my folder, oops, check mark, I can do all sorts of different things to my shirt collar to make it fit. I can come back in here and adjust the edges and all that sort of stuff. But you get the idea that it's starting to create the inside of that collar. Same thing with my lanyard is I can go back to the original picture here and I can cut and paste part of this lanyard, or I can find something from the internet and I can make that piece sort of fit in here too. Now when I threw this in the folder here, this is where I was saying that because the layer mask is not all black, it's doing this weird thing. All I would do is choose the layer mask here, select black, make this a little bit bigger, and it's just on another layer mask. I just want to make sure that that's painted out there. All right, and then up here too, I think this is probably just some remnants from the old layer mask because it's not quite fitting exactly on there. All right, and that's, like I said, that's just all artifacts here. And if you have anything else in your piece, like if it's making any other weird color aberrations or whatever, like down here you can see how this is also, it's just any of this extra stuff. I could even try to take care of this by using my paint bucket, making sure I'm on this layer mask here and just painting in the background. It just paints everything else in black. I mean, again, the idea is the only white we want showing in that layer mask is just this part here. So you can go in and try to chase it with your paintbrush. Try to get rid, you can see that white disappearing over here as I'm painting around the outside here. See that? So there you go. All right, so there you go. So what you're going to do is slowly start building these areas in here with little pieces. Again, I can quickly zoom in here, Command, bring down the magazine. Make sure I'm on the right picture layer over here. Let's make this brush a little smaller. Go to my selecting tool. I'm going to select part of this. I'm going to put this together like that. I'm going to say Edit Copy. I'm going to say Edit Paste. I'm going to bring this down here. And I'm going to stretch this out like so. So that it sort of fits in this area. And you might need to do more. I can say check mark. I could say edit, transform. And I'm going to say distort. And I could grab this thing and sort of stretch it so that it fits in this space a little bit. Right. And we're just building this piece here. I'm going to say check mark. So I'm building this corner. I can use my layer mask on this one here. So I can say layer mask. I can use my black paintbrush again. Soft edge. And then I can start to just blend that edge in there so it looks like it belongs as part of that. So if I zoom out, I'm starting to build that magazine in there. So there you go. So that's it. So again, carefully, you could work on making the inside of the head. You can work on the inside of the collar, inside of the sleeve, wherever you have those insides. That's the thing that's going to make it more realistic. So then when you're all done, obviously you have layers in here. So you're going to say save. You're going to say save as. Always save your original as you go, but then you're going to save this as a JPEG, and it'll save you as a flattened image. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing you want to do is make sure with your image here is use your cropping tool, and you might want to say width and height and resolution. So we're going to want this to be, honestly, I don't even know if I need that stool over there. Maybe I should crop mine vertically instead of horizontally. That's possibly a better composition. But so here I'm doing 8 by 10. You can do 7.5 by 11 by 150, whatever it is that fits for you, and then crop it down. There we go. And then I'm going to say File, Save As, JPEG. And you're good to go. So good luck to you, and happy invisibling.